local people, important issues. CBS 10 WILM's weekly focus on the Lower Cape Fear region. This is Byline Wilmington with your host, Don Ansell.
And welcome. Good morning. Today we're taking a look at some of the military hotspots around the world involving the U.S. Our guest is a noted military historian and Chancellor Emeritus of UNC Wilmington, Dr. James R. Leutze. Jim, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
I guess we should start with Afghanistan this week. The president...
Pick your choice.
Pick your hotspot.
You want to go, right.
The president has signed in for 17,000 more troops going over to Afghanistan for our effort there. I think there's 30-some thousand. There'll probably be around 50,000 troops there. What's your take?
There are also NATO troops there. I mean, there are a lot of NATO troops. And we've gotten pretty good support from NATO in Afghanistan, better than we certainly did in Iraq. It's a gamble. I mean, I think some...
The surge?
The surge, that is, it's a gamble of sending in that number of that number of troops. It becomes Barack Obama's war as soon as those troops arrive, and therefore he is going to be held responsible for what happens in that area. And so it's a gamble. It is Richard Holbrooke, who is the special envoy to that region, says it's a much more difficult environment to fight in than Iraq. And so,
well, some are saying it could be Obama's Vietnam, and the terrain is very difficult. The border with Pakistan is volatile. Is there a well-defined mission there?
Not that I understand. That is, I don't think we have a clear mission, and I don't think we have a clear exit strategy. In other words, how do you know when you've met your goal? I mean, what is the goal?
What is the goal?
Part of the problem there is an extremely corrupt central government. I don't think anybody questions that the Karzai government is a corrupt government and it is not serving its people well. So that's one problem. And in my view, until you have a central government that the public has faith in, then you're going to have a great deal of difficulty with solving your military problem.
Who are we fighting? I mean, I know it's the Taliban, but
okay.
Are we fighting?
You're fighting
people that are fighting us? Is that how we know?
These are people that want to impose Islamic law in the country, which is the Taliban, and they had been there before, and that's what they want. They want a strict Islamic state, and the problem is that strict Islamic state would very likely again turn into a haven for extremists, such as the extremists that attacked us on 9/11. I mean, that was the nexus of the attack on 9/11, that's where Osama bin Laden trained, that's where he put his plans together, and where he executed those plans. And
there's growing signs of strain between the Obama administration and the Karzai government in Afghanistan. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there has to be. In other words, I think back, and you mentioned Vietnam. One of our real problems in Vietnam was that we supported a corrupt government in Vietnam. The public had no faith in the government, so it made it much easier for the North Vietnamese and for the Viet Cong to establish control when there was no faith in the government.
So are we there for the Karzai government to succeed, or are we there to wipe out terrorist activity there?
This is not just a military problem, and this is the kind of thing that I think we often make mistakes, that we think problems are solvable militarily. It's a complex, and I don't want us to leave Pakistan that you mentioned. This is diplomatic. These people move back and forth across this porous border in that northeastern region between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And if we cross the border, as we do regularly with Predator drones, and bomb areas inside Pakistan, that exacerbates our problems, diplomatic problems, in dealing with Pakistan. They feel like an independent country. Why should the United States be coming into their territory? But they can't control their own borders. So what do you do in that kind of situation? So it's not just military, it's diplomatic, and it's political, it's economic.
Well, there's, poverty, corruption. The drug trade there is huge.
Absolutely.
Are those issues that we need to address in order to to have some kind of a success in the mission we have?
I don't think you're going to be really successful until you come up with some package that addresses or partially addresses all of those issues that you mentioned.
You mentioned I think there's been 3, and maybe questionably maybe a 4th missile attack by the U.S. into Pakistan. Is that justifiable? That's an ally, number one.
Well, I actually don't know what international law says about if you cannot protect your own borders and an enemy is projecting power across those borders. There are certain rights that you have in order to protect yourself or to protect the sovereignty of another country, of this country, and in this case, Afghanistan and your own troops. Why should we allow the Pakistanis to offer safe haven across their border? Of course, that was a Vietnam issue also, as far as Laos and Cambodia was concerned. And how do you handle that situation?
We originally went into Afghanistan to capture bin Laden.
That's correct.
Who's
now in Pakistan.
How important is it to capture bin Laden
It would be an enormous political coup, but I think that there's no question that the assets of Al-Qaeda have been badly damaged and degraded. Their communication structure, their ability to launch attacks and other things has been badly downgraded, so that it is not the kind of threat that it was years ago. And so consequently, I think that getting rid of bin Laden, it would be a great a political coup if you could do that, and there'd be a great deal of publicity given to you. It would not necessarily dramatically affect Al-Qaeda's ability to project trouble.
And you think the terrorist activity that continues in Afghanistan would continue if bin Laden was captured?
Yes, I do. I don't think it would. I don't think it's dependent on one man.
What about this reported new deal between the Taliban and the Pakistani government
in the Swat Valley?
For that northwest tip, I think.
You're right. It used to be a big tourist attraction, beautiful mountains and the kind of Switzerland of that region of the world. I think it's a terrible idea. The problem,
it hurts our interests there.
I think that the ceasefire, or whatever it's being called there, will simply give the Taliban an opportunity to regroup. Furthermore, the Taliban are going to impose Sharia law, which is part of the reason that we were against the Taliban in Afghanistan. I mean, I never thought we went into Afghanistan for women's rights, but if you'll remember, that was a big issue. And what they're doing in that area, the Taliban are doing, or they're burning women's schools and they're intimidating women and things of this nature. I think it's a terrible idea, but your problem in Pakistan is similar to your problem in Afghanistan, a weak government. The government in Pakistan is not a strong government.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about Iraq. How do we get out? When do we get out? With Dr. Jim Leutze. So stay with us. We'll be right back.